remember last week I put the greens out in the raised bed. We saw that the leaves had frozen during some of the days that week, but then they perked back up as it got warmer. Well, then last week we had the Polar Vortex, and we actually had temperatures down as low as the chill factor 1 degree. So the question is, did they survive? And if so, should we go ahead and put some of these guys back out? So I'll show you what the plants look like. They're out here in the sun today because it's right around 45 degrees. It could get as high as 51 today. So I want to give them some natural sunlight because that's different than the fluorescent lights give them. So I'm giving them some natural sunlight today, and I'll show you how they've grown, and then we'll check out the raised bed, and then we'll decide if any of these are going outside. So you see here the loofah still doing very well. They of course will not go outside. I'll leave them out here in the natural sunlight and then bring them in when it gets below 40. Bring them inside, and of course they'll be warm at night, and I'll try and put them out every day this week. The next 2 weeks look like it will be warm enough to put them out almost every day, but then have to bring them in at night. Here was the Napa cabbage, and they continue to grow. They're doing very well. My question was, I put half of them out last week. Should I put the other half out this week? And that will be dependent on how well the Napa cabbage, or it's actually not Napa, but the Chinese cabbage did underneath the row covers in the bed. Here's my bok choy. It is getting a little bigger here. Some of them just, the leaves dried up, but the rest of them look like they're starting to take off now. I planted a few more celery in here. I don't think this is celery, so we will see. This looks more like a chard. So we will see what comes up there. And here's my pepper, Swiss chard. You remember that the pepper that I was trying to grow had first leaves last week, and now it has its first set of true leaves. Swiss chard here is getting a little bigger, so again, I'm going to look and see if this should go out in the raised bed. The celery today is going to get planted in another container. I'm going to go ahead probably and keep it inside, but I want to put it in a bigger container. Parsnip. And here is the artichoke. You can see that the artichoke it actually got a little damaged when it grew so high that it touched the light it was under. I wanted to make sure and show you this as well. You remember that my second artichoke was just poking up out of the dirt last week, and here it has its leaves. This is similar to what the last one did. It seems like it takes a really long time for these first weird looking leaves to come up, and then it just goes gung-ho. Here's my asparagus, and you see that each of them has put out at least one more stalk, so that now there's 2. And my spinach and lettuce. This lettuce is so big, I'm going to actually harvest a couple of pieces today to eat on a taco. Here is a little bit of red romaine and oak leaf. Very good. Well, that's how the greens are going. And let's go check the raised bed. They definitely still look frozen, right? The spinach actually did really well.
Yeah, spinach looks pretty good, and this lettuce,
yes,
it looks pretty good. That doesn't look too good.
That's curly kale.
Curly kale.
This was the lettuce, the other lettuce.
Yeah.
It definitely.
They don't look dead.
They look frozen.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the kale. The kale's the worst looking.
Now there was something here which probably won't come back. This was arugula here.
That's looking good.
It looks pretty good. So the arugula and the spinach actually did the best.
Yeah, now let's check out the other bed.
This I think did the worst right here. This leaf doesn't look like it's going to come back.
Yeah,
it was chard.
Oh, chard. Jeez.
Yeah, the chard didn't do good.
These things look okay. The old lettuces are doing great. The new ones there are okay.
Yep, so this was what you planted.
Right.
And
the other ones are over on this side.
And I put something in. This is the one that has my thermometer in it. Yeah, so the things that you planted did fine. This was romaine, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Or maybe this was the.
And the things over here look okay too. There and there.
Mm-hmm.
This one.
Oh, I had one thing of romaine lettuce left, and I put it right here.
Yeah, and it looks like it's doing okay.
It looks like it will survive. It's really wilty, but it's still green.
Even some of these are wilty, and they come back every time, so not bad.
So they just need to be a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Now the chard that you planted in here, I don't even know where it is. Maybe it never did.
Old stuff?
Yeah. I never found any.
Well, like that right there, isn't that chard?
Oh, that could be. Well, maybe chard can't take it.
But the lettuce and the Napa cabbage seem to do really well.
Yeah, the lettuce does the best.
Spinach, yep, and spinach and arugula. Yep, and the lettuce. Kale is iffy. I think a few of these are too far gone and probably won't recover. But that's okay. This was a test to see if they would survive under the row cover. What I wanted to know was whether or not the row cover would keep things alive. In the past, I've tried the row cover and found that it doesn't keep it above freezing, so most plants don't make it. But as I showed last week, the leaves of the Napa cabbage, the Chinese cabbage, the lettuce can actually freeze and survive just fine. So my question was whether or not the temperature under the row cover would stay warm enough that those plants would survive the Arctic blast that we got, the really low temperatures down into the teens with wind chills in the single digits. I put my wireless thermometer under the row cover, and then I checked it and took a couple of pictures to show the temperature outside the row cover and the temperature on the thermometer. And even though the temperature was below freezing under the row cover, it usually was quite a bit higher than the temperature outside, the regular temperature outside. I think what happens is, especially as soon as the sun comes up, the temperature under the row cover gets substantially warmer, and that warms the dirt up, the ground, to be warm. So that keeps the roots from freezing. The ground gives off that heat then when the air temperature drops. So I think that's how the row covers are able to maintain a better temperature for the greens. Of course, almost any other plant isn't going to survive. The only things that survive are lettuce, and arugula seems to do well, some of the kales, and then the Chinese cabbages. Well, based on the fact that the Swiss chard did not do well out in the raised bed, I'll keep this inside for longer. This one and this one, the two chards. I think I'm also going to keep the Chinese cabbage a little bit longer, maybe another week, inside rather than putting it outside. What we saw in the difference between the two beds was the bigger the plant, the more likely it is to do well when it's outside under the row cover. It's just about time to move these guys indoors for the evening. I don't want to take any chance that they'll get frosted. I'll let them grow for a few more days. Some of these greens I'll go ahead and put out in a few days when the soil has really warmed up in those boxes. In the next 2 weeks, there's a couple of days that are supposed to get at freezing or just a tad below, but for the most part the next 2 weeks are supposed to be warm in the 50s and 60s during the day and the 30s at night. That's still good weather for greens to go outside. So I'll check back in with you next week. Take care, and I'll see you next week.